Hello everyone, welcome to another MTG PREMODERN Set review. Today we have two sets, Alliances and Mirage. Both sets were released in 1996. Let's start with Alliances, a set with almost 200 cards. At first glance, I would say no reprints. This set introduces alternative costs. The most famous card in the set is Force of Will indeed, easily, and at that time this card was considered to be trash. The game was much slower, so you didn't want to lose a card in order to play a counterspell. Clearly, this changed with the Urza block. Players were trying to pull Balduvian Horde, Helm of Obedience, or Thawing Glaciers. They would have rather preferred Arcane Denial. What about Premodern? Force of Will is banned. This is a controversial ban, however I think the format is quite healthy right now, so if it ain't broken, don't fix it. Well, let's start with the cards. Arcane Denial. This is a counter magic that doesn't require double blue. The side effect, the drawback, is card disadvantage. This doesn't stop Arcane Denial from seeing play in the sideboard of blue-white replenish, and it can be main decked at times, like by combo decks. Impact is limited, but I would get a few copies if the occasion arises. This card is cheap. Balduvian Horde, extremely nostalgic card. It was widely regarded as the next Yuuzhan Jin when it came out. However, it turned out to be a flop. This card is random, so it's hard to make it work with things like Fiery Temper or Rutvala. Burnout is an okay card, but Red Elemental Blast is preferred due to lower casting cost and because it can target sorceries and permanents. Contagion is a good removal spell with an alternative cost. It sees play in mono black decks, mostly as a sideboard card, but it can be used as a main deck card too, like in mono black Contamination. Impact 6, card is cheap. Nice. Dystopia, commonly used as a sideboard card against green and white. There are other options like Perish and Gloom. However, Dystopia hits both green and white. So impact on the game 8. However, price has been climbing up for quite some time, and there aren't reprints other than the gold border version. And even in that case, card is quite expensive. So I would prioritize other cards. Elvish Spirit Guide. This is a typical card meant for combo decks. It's rarely used in Premodern. Honorable mention. Exile is a conditional removal spell worth noting. Still, 3 mana is a lot. Swords to Plowshares is undeniably the best white removal spell, and Reprisal is the second choice. Gorilla Shaman is one of the most famous creatures of the set, known as the Mox Destroyer. However, it doesn't see play in Premodern. Guerrilla Tactics is another card worth noting. It has a niche in being good against discard strategies. However, I think Mono Red should better swarm the battlefield with 2 power 1-drops instead. Gusta's Scepter can see play in blue-red Devoured Tinkerfling. I think there are better options though. Hailstorm is a rare sideboard card meant for decks that cannot splash red, so mostly Blue-Green Madness or The Rock. Kildoran Outpost offers a different angle of attack against control decks. Unfortunately, Wasteland and land destruction in general happen a lot in Premodern. It can be an alternative to Decree of Justice in Standstill, but still, sacrificing a plane is pretty bad of a drawback. Krovikan Horror is used in Survival Infestation decks, honorable mention. Lake of the Dead is a remarkable land, but it doesn't see play in Premodern. Limdul's Vault does sometimes see play in combo decks, even though it's rare. Full English Breakfast, and maybe Stiflenut at times. I don't think it's needed. Lodestone Bubble doesn't see play. It's cool after an Armageddon, but Terrageddon decks have better things to do. Omen of Fire is a spiteful instant speed spell that can punish blue decks using lots of islands, especially blue-white. I think Boil is better, and it doesn't see a lot of play either. Phyrexian Devourer is the build around for the Tinkerfling combo and Survival of the Fittest decks, along with Volrath's Shapeshifter and Triskelion. Unfortunately, it isn't cheap. Impact on the game 7.5, there are no reprints, and this card is part of the reserved list, so I think it's a good idea to buy it before price goes up, at least if you can find a good offer. Pillage, Land Destruction, spell that can target artifacts too. Ponza decks are going to like this, honorable mention. Pyrokinesis, this is a good sideboard card. It's used by Goblin decks and sometimes Red Sly. This card is meant for decks that don't want to use Pyroclasm because they play creatures, so they need to hit just one side of the battlefield. Reprisal is often used in the sideboard of Terrageddon decks, just one copy, maybe two. Soldavia Dreadnought is sometimes used in mono-black clerics. Thawing Glaciers, iconic card, but it's slow for pre-modern. It is sometimes used in control decks, one copy, Mono Blue Tide, Astral Slide. Varchild's War Riders are sometimes used in Dracoboom decks, especially with Log Speeder and Earthquake. So that's all for Alliances, a set that contains some iconic cards, alternative costs, combo staples and a few sideboard cards. However, it didn't quite meet my expectations. I expected this set to be a standalone, and I'm going to include another set in this video instead. So next we have Mirage. This is a bigger set, 350 cards. So just like you would expect from a big set, there are many relevant cards and plenty of forgettable ones. Mystical Tutor and Flash are banned for obvious reasons. Dark Ritual, Memory Lapse, Incinerate and Disenchant are reprinted. This set introduces the first rudimental fetch lands. They enter the battlefield tapped, so that's the drawback instead of losing one life. Diamonds are introduced in this set too. They got reprinted in 6th edition and they sometimes see play in pre-modern, but these cards aren't particularly relevant. Crystal Vein is played by Phyrexian Devourer Tinkerflint combo. Cursed Totem, one of the most important cards in the set, stopping combos, and Mana Dorks as well. Remember that this card doesn't stop morph abilities just like Exalted Angel. That is a special ability. Daring Apprentice, Walking Counterspell, just a heads up. Delirium is a cool sideboard card that can turn the tides against Phyrexian Dreadnought or Terravor. Early Harvest is played in a dedicated combo deck where it is the namesake card. This deck uses Mana Flare, a card that I failed to mention when talking about 4th edition, Dwarven Miner, destructing non-basic lands, Ebony Charm, Graveyard Hate. Next we have another heavy hitter, Enlightened Tutor. This card has become quite expensive. I pulled a copy, Eternal Master, then I bought one copy of the Mirage version for around 10 euros about 2 years ago. This card sees most of its play in the sideboard. It's like having multiple copies of the same card. I use this card in the main deck of my black-white midrange deck. It can be used in blue-white Replenish or Stifle Knot. Enchantress, obviously. Phyrexian Devourer. There are so many important artifact and enchantments in this format. Ore of Silence, Cursed Totem, Tormod Script. Mostly sideboard cards, but also staples, just like Phyrexian Dreadnought, Opalescence, Parallax Wave, Parallax Tide. There are so many good targets. Circle of Protection Red. You name it. So maybe you can get away with just 1 or 2 copies, but I would prioritize other cards. Fallow Earth, unique effect. Final Fortune doesn't see play, but it's actually a powerful card. Forsaken Wastes, life gain denial and recurrent damage, honorable mention. Goblin Tinkerer sees play in Goblin decks, 1 copy in the main deck. You can fetch it with Goblin Matron and 1 more copy in the sideboard. This is nice against Phyrexian Dreadnought, Mox Diamond, Cursed Scroll, artifacts in general, but mostly Phyrexian Dreadnought. Wall of Gemstone, this enchantment can be used as a sideboard card, especially in Enchantress. It stops counter magic. Hammer of Bogadan, this is a card you can recycle. A bit slow. I think it's used in control decks just like Parfait. Curve Expurge is the perfect sideboard card against Phyrexian Dreadnought. Then we have a bomb. Lionside Diamond is the most expensive and famous card in the set, but it only sees play in ill-gotten gains. Mind Harness can target Terravor, and you know what's going to happen with the letter P. Phyrexian Dreadnought. This is the build around of the tier 1 deck Stiflenut. Impact is maximum. Price is quite high. There are no reprints. Obviously, this card is part of the reserved list. You tell me what to do. I mean, this card is sometimes the prize for a tournament winner, so one way to get this card is to win for tournaments. Let's put it this way. Political Trickery does see play along with Undiscovered Paradise in Golden Politics, a rogue deck with Parallax Wave. Polymorph only sees marginal play in rogue decks. I remember a standard deck with Polymorph and Emrakul. Premodern doesn't have the same kind of payoff. Rampant Growth, good ramp spell. Reality Ripple is rarely played in Stiflenut. Sacred Mesa can see play in Enchantress or Astral Slide. Sand Golem, specific sideboard option against discard strategies. Seeds of Innocence, bury all artifacts. Powerful effect, I don't think this is particularly relevant. Shallow Grave is quite expensive. It's usually paired with Saturate Goal. For the most part, it's used in Legacy, not in Premodern. Sirocco, underrated surprise sideboard card against blue. Soul Rend is very specific against white. Spirit of the Night, a big hasty creature. People really wanted to pull this card simply because it's super big. Flying, Trample, Protection from Black, First Strike when attacking, Haste. This card has everything. I mean, nowadays we are used to this kind of stuff. Back then it was unique. And in Premodern, this card only sees play in Reanimator decks. Sometimes, and only because it's hasty. Then, Stupor, decent discard spell. Teferi's Isle is sometimes used in Mono Blue Storm decks. Tombstone Stairwell has recently spiked in price. I think this is mostly because it's used in Commander. And in Premodern, maybe you can use one copy in a zombie deck. Tranquil Domain is a must-have sideboard card for green decks and it's splashable. Very cheap, immediate buy. Volcanic Dragon. This card sees play in Dragonstorm decks. Withering Moon. This is another card that has recently spiked in price. And very unique. You don't see a black counterspell every day. Finally, Worldly Tutor. This card dropped in price in 2023 and it's been recovering ever since. So, not quite a budget card, but still affordable. It sees play in multiple formats, and in Premodern, you will mostly see this card in Angry Hermit decks. So yeah, Hermit Druid, Saturate Goal, Phyrexian Dreadnought, and Shallow Grave. Some of the cards that we have mentioned today. So Alliances and Mirage, definitely a good piece of Magic the Gathering's history. Very nice cards. Just let me know if I left anything out. Thanks for watching and see you the next time.